The weight is a factor. The age, nobody seems to mention, is also a factor. Conor Benn being the younger man at his prime, yeah? Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Ben, especially the way he fights like his father, very aggressive, yeah? And listen, if I'm gonna have to, I normally can't say to you, predict what I believe will happen. Christopher Jr. is the bigger man, granted. It depends. It depends. If he's been living the lifestyle, that's also a factor. So it's a 50-50 fight.
Yeah, I think it's a mismatch on paper. Of course it is. It's a fella that won a British title at welterweight, who hasn't boxed for a long time, against a faded world-class middleweight. So I haven't really got any interest, to be honest.
Egg slap not get you excited for it?
Not really, no. I'm not really an excitable guy.
Don Charles isn't pulling any punches. While he tries to present his take as a balanced 50-50 prediction, it's crystal clear where his loyalty lies: Chris Eubank Jr. To Charles, all the chatter about weight cuts, age differences, and physical disadvantages is just noise, smoke, and mirrors. The cold reality: Eubank Jr. is operating on another level. Charles doesn't need to scream it. His message is woven through every word. He sees Eubank's experience, size, and ring IQ as the real X factors. Youth doesn't always win in boxing, and in this case, it could be a liability. Charles drops a casual jab at Eubank's flashy lifestyle, but when it comes to fight night, none of that matters. He firmly believes Benn's aggression will break down under the precision, control, and calculated pressure of a seasoned Eubank. Ben might carry the fire of his father, but that fire alone won't win this fight. Not when you're up against someone who knows how to control the tempo.
I've talked with him on performance-enhancing drugs in his system. I think he's a shadow of the fighter. He's lost all his explosiveness. He's lost his power. So I don't think he's going to carry any dangers into that fight, if I'm completely honest.
What have you made of Chris Eubank Jr.'s mind games that he's been playing? He's found a good line that he's worked with, calling him a cheat and saying that he'll respect anyone but a drug cheat. What do you believe these mind games are having an effect on Conor Benn, first of all?
I do, but in a way you've got to respect it, because not many people do come out and say what they're thinking.
Manipulate the pace and land when it counts. In Charles's eyes, Ben is walking into a chess match with a hammer. Meanwhile, Troy Williamson takes things even further, and he's not here to be polite. Since Conor Benn's failed drug test, Williamson says he's seen a different fighter. The explosiveness? Gone. The fear factor? Faded. What remains, according to Williamson, is a shadow of the man who once looked like a serious threat. To him, Ben is no longer the same dangerous force he once was, and he doesn't hesitate to say it out loud. And when it comes to Eubank's approach, Williamson sees a master of mental warfare at work. Eubank calling Ben a cheat, refusing to show him any respect. That's not just trash talk. It's strategy. It's a calculated plan to rattle Ben, shake his confidence, and push him off balance before the first
firefight. You know, for all the promotion, for all the nonsense, for all the crap, you've got two fighters here. Might not be for a world title, but if you want to see a scrap, you're going to see one, because these two like to fight. Look at their careers. They are the fighters. They are the brawlers. They love it. And they only know one way. And that's what's going to happen on April 26th. They're going to meet in the ring, in the center of the ring, and they're going to go off. And that's why the casual fans are going to love this fight. Yes, the boxing
bell even rings. And from Williamson's perspective, it's working. The psychological edge is firmly in Eubank's corner, and it might be the most dangerous weapon in his arsenal. As the tension builds, Ben Shalom cranks it up even further. He doesn't sugarcoat what's coming. This isn't just a grudge match, it's a full-blown war. Forget the buildup, forget the fancy promos. This will be raw, violent, and immediate. Two men walking into the ring not to box, but to fight. No feeling out rounds, no tactical chess games, just pure pressure and bad intentions from the opening bell. Shalom paints the fight as a powder keg ready to explode. Once the first clean shot lands, there's no turning back. This won't be a bout for the purists or for those looking for sweet science. It's a throwback to old-school wars where only one man walks away.
Yeah, I think it's a mismatch on paper. Of course it is. It's a fella that won a British title at welterweight, who hasn't boxed for a long time, against a faded world-class middleweight. So I haven't really got any interest, to be honest.
Egg slap not get you excited for us?
Not really, no. I'm not really an excitable guy.
The question isn't who's more technical. It's who can endure more pain, who can handle the chaos, and who refuses to fall. One thing is clear. This isn't just a fight. It's a reckoning. Dave Allen isn't just throwing shade. He's setting the whole narrative on fire. In his eyes, the upcoming Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn fight is nothing more than a poorly disguised cash grab. Allen tears through the hype with ruthless honesty, calling it what he believes it is, a mismatch dressed up in nostalgia, feeding off two iconic surnames without offering anything of real value to the sport. To Allen, this isn't a legacy-defining clash. It's a glorified exhibition between a middleweight who's clearly past his peak and a welterweight who's yet to prove himself at an elite level. He doesn't hold back, calling the fight a disgrace and an insult to real boxing fans. According to him, the sport deserves better than risk.
So, yeah, I think the difficulty for Conor Benn in this fight is the weight and is the size. I think he's a better fighter. And I think at a natural weight class, he's a big favourite in the fight. But coming up 2 weight classes, it makes it a 50-50 fight. And you ain't going to blink in this one.
Cycled family feuds and media-driven hype. One fighter has barely fought in recent years. The other's been humbled repeatedly. And the so-called rivalry feels manufactured, a shallow echo of their father's legendary wars. What bothers Allen the most is the glaring mismatch in quality and weight. He sees a chasm in credibility and competitiveness that turns the whole event into a parody of what a true boxing superfight should be. In Allen's words, this isn't a bout, it's a business transaction, dragging boxing into the gutter for a quick payday. On the flip side, Eddie Hearn offers a stark but more tactical perspective. He's sounding the alarm for Conor Benn, warning that stepping up 2 full weight classes is not just bold, it's extremely dangerous. Hearn acknowledges Benn's relentless drive and fearless mindset, but he doesn't sugarcoat the reality.
And Conor Benn is an animal with a hot head. And as soon as that bell goes, you've only got to watch Nigel Benn's fights and Conor Benn's fights in his career so far to realise he's going to set about him from the first bell.
This is a fight that could backfire fast. At his natural weight, Benn could have entered as a potential favorite, but now, facing a physically bigger and more experienced opponent like Eubank Jr., he's entering hostile territory. The strength, reach, and endurance all lean in Eubank's favor. One mistake, one missed step, and the fight could shift from competitive to catastrophic in a heartbeat. Hearn also recognizes that both men pack serious knockout power, making this a high-risk, high-reward shootout. This isn't the kind of fight you take lightly, and it definitely won't be one where you can afford to blink. But Hearn still believes in Benn's chaos. He calls him a force of nature, a relentless brawler who thrives on pressure. Benn doesn't wait to analyze. He dives into war. That wild energy can be devastating.
I'm in my gym the whole time, and I'm also very close with Conor Benn. He's a good pal of mine, so it's very hard for me to sort of sit back and say this or say that. I think they're doing a fantastic job in selling their fight. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. They both obviously have the needle with each other, and they're both going to give it everything. So be prepared for war, and I hope they get out of the ring safe and sound.
But against the wrong opponent, it's a double-edged sword. The key question: can Benn break Eubank's composure, or will he charge headfirst into a trap? One thing's for sure, this isn't going to the judges. This is a winner-takes-all, punch-for-punch war where someone's going down. Tommy Welch finds himself caught in a storm of emotions ahead of one of boxing's most anticipated grudge matches, Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. With deep personal ties to both fighters, Benn having trained in his gym, and a long-standing friendship with Eubank, Welch is walking an emotional tightrope. Though he's tried to remain neutral, it's clear this fight carries a heavy personal weight for him. Welch refuses to pick a side, but one thing he doesn't hesitate to say is this: The tension is real, and this fight is going to be an all-out.
Having the antics of Chris Eubank Jr. the other day when he had that egg moment and he slapped it right into Conor Benn's face. I'm nothing wookish about me, I can assure you. When I let rip, you'll know all about it. But I do feel it's maybe what the sport doesn't need, and yet many people are saying, no, it's great, you watch it. Everybody wants to go to that fight.
War. It's more than just a match. This is about legacy, pride, and proving who deserves to carry their family name into the next generation. With the buildup already boiling over and personal animosity fueling the fire, Welch can only hope both men make it out of the ring in one piece. He knows what's coming. Pure intensity, fueled by decades of rivalry and the pressure of public expectation. On the other end of the spectrum, broadcaster Jim White isn't holding back when it comes to Eubank Jr.'s headline-making antics, especially the now infamous egg-smashing stunt aimed at mocking Conor Benn's failed drug tests. White labeled it something boxing doesn't need, suggesting it crossed a line into childish spectacle. But here's the twist. Was it really too much? Or did Eubank just inject this fight with the exact kind of...
I think Eubank will do it. I think this will be a good fight as long as it lasts, but I think Eubank will do it.
Is that because of the size and all the attributes Amir Khan mentioned?
I think with the experience and everything in it, to be honest, I think he's got the more experience as being professional, and since he's moved trainer, he seems to be a different fighter again.
Controversy boxing lives for? Whether you love it or hate it, the egg stunt got people talking. That's the kind of chaos that gets fans emotionally invested. Some may see it as immature, but others see it as psychological warfare. Either way, it escalated the rivalry, and now Ben is more fired up than ever, desperate to silence the mockery with a statement performance. This isn't just a contest anymore. It's deeply personal. There's pride, revenge, and legacy all wrapped into one explosive bout. And that's exactly what keeps boxing fans glued to the screen. Meanwhile, Hughie Fury isn't sugarcoating his views. He's all in for Eubank Jr. and doesn't give Conor Benn much of a chance. Fury calls this fight a disaster waiting to happen for Benn, who's stepping into dangerous territory against a bigger, more battle-tested opponent. In Fury's eyes, Benn's resume doesn't hold up.
I think Chris is leaps and bounds ahead of Conor. His experience, the guys he's been in with. Take away the weight because Chris is obviously going to be disadvantaged in there with the weight as well. But just ability, boxing skill set is on a completely different level. So
he's fought aggressive but not elite. He's looked powerful but never truly been pushed to the edge. Fury argues that since Eubank switched trainers, he's evolved into a smarter, more technical version of himself, more dangerous than ever. Eubank's been in the trenches with the best, while Benn has yet to be tested in a real war. Add in the fact that Benn is jumping up in weight, and Fury sees the writing on the wall. Benn will be outmatched, outclassed, and exposed. As the hype reaches fever pitch, Harlem Eubank delivers the final word with unshakable confidence in his cousin, Chris Eubank Jr. To Harlem, this fight isn't just about muscle, it's about mental fortitude, adaptability, and high-level ring IQ. While the headlines keep pointing to the size difference and the rehydration clause, Harlem insists the real gap is in experience and skill. Chris Eubank Jr. has fought under the brightest lights, standing toe-to-toe with the elite. Benn? Not yet. Despite his aggression and knockout highlights, he hasn't stepped into the deep waters that Eubank has survived. Harlem acknowledges Chris will be cutting weight, but he's been there before. What matters is how you adapt, how you think under pressure, and how you command the ring. Harlem is convinced that Chris will use his superior boxing IQ to break down Benn, round by round. He believes Conor won't have the experience or mental sharpness to keep up once the fight moves into deeper rounds. This won't just be a fight, it'll be a clinic in control, discipline, and execution. The stage is set. The minds have been made. The predictions are flying, and so is the tension. Who do you have? The explosive Ben or the composed Eubank? Drop your predictions in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more explosive boxing updates.